Hello, everyone. I'm here with Grandmaster Aagaard here in Almeria, Spain. We just finished the Killer Chess Training Camp. Once again, thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome.
And Jakob has graciously agreed to take a look at my games from my most recent tournament, the 2025 Grenke Open, which just finished a few weeks ago in Germany. And you have some thoughts on the games. I'm very much looking forward to hearing them. Please do not hold back. Let's do it.
Well, first of all, I absolutely barged my way into said we should absolutely do this because then I avoided to show this horror show in front of the other students in the class. And we'll see if anyone watches Chess Dojo. If they do, then I made a wrong strategic choice here. I'm trying to spare you. No, so I went through these games, and the way I do this is I go through the engine and see where the engine sort of picks something up for me to pay attention to. And then I look at them with the engine running to save time, to then apply quite a lot of knowledge. Now, I wouldn't really do that with my own games. I do that with other people's games because I don't know what you're thinking.
Right.
And I don't know until I ask you, so I just find the moments where it's sort of interesting to talk about. And there's various things where we just sort of have some general discussions, and it's more a discussion than it's a sort of teaching that I've planned here. And so I annotated all the games, and there's a PGN, and you can put a download link or so, and I shall claim no copyright to anything here. So my first thing here for this opening was this is the Rosolimo, which we both played against Ponomarev.
True.
I certainly cannot, based on that game, claim to have any expertise. That I was outplayed is an underestimation of how bad it was. When I lost my queen, my position improved. The fact that I won that game is, I'll put it in the second edition of Smeardan's Chess Swindle manual. Force my way in. Obviously not, but so here I think in this position, if you play g6, you always get a reasonable position, and here your opponent is rated 2062, you're rated 2351.
Right, this was round one.
This is round one. Yeah, we're sort of going through. We skip some games. We'll skip your good games, go for the bad ones.
Perfect.
not even joking. And I think if you play g6 here, g6, bishop g7, and these kind of lines, you always get a good playable position.
Okay.
You don't necessarily have to take with a d pawn, you can take with a b pawn. You get some nice elastic position with lots of play for both sides. Both sides have to make a lot of choices. And I think e6, you need to know what you're doing. Knight a5, which I have played at times, you shouldn't do. And knight f6 as you play, I think also it just requires sort of a lot of knowledge. And this structure here I feel can be very strategically very difficult to play. And if you don't really know what you're doing, it's quite risky. And this is what we saw in the game. So that was why I tried to put diagrams at all moments I want to stop here. So that's why I put a diagram there. Okay, let's move very rapidly forward, and lots of things happened. As said, Kostya will put a download link for the games. Here, there was an interesting moment, but okay, let's move on. Yeah, this was sort of the moment here, where there's two moves in a row where I'm not very happy with what you did. And this seems to be a strategic thing that you also missed with white later, where you had a Rosolimo also with white. This idea of c4. So here at this point, black's best move is c4.
Right.
And we talked a little bit in the camp at times about how bishops I call it the missing bishop. There's no light squared bishop. Means that white has to have a very good control of the light squares. Maybe even b3 was better than casting, at least from a practical point of view. And here, if you get to exchange, or if you place d4, then you have very good control of the d5 square, and your knight will be very happy there.
Yeah, basically, I didn't like d4. That's why I didn't play it.
Oh, if you promise to play d4 here, I'll give you money.
Right.
Honestly, like this is the knight will be so strong on d5.
Yeah.
It's sort of lottery scenario here. And d4, black plays e6, and then the knight on d5, and we get to play around. We can have this pawn majority on the queen side, and basically, let me just here. And this bishop here is not going to have great scope. So your bishop here has sort of two functions. First, it's just really, really annoying permanently. Mm-hmm. But secondly, it also helps a little bit with defense around the king. So any ideas of sort of coming up and bishop takes h6 and checkmate and so on, it's going to be very, very hard to achieve. You could imagine, I'm trying to play devil's advocate, e6, that black plays substitute, like knight h5, you play knight d5, then later you play bishop g6, knight goes to f4, you take, and then you put the queen on d5. Also a fantastic piece there, very hard to dislodge. And you always have the chance to play c5 at some point.
True.
This is not really a double pawn, because it's not weakness, it can't be exploited. The move that I sort of thought was the dangerous move here is this funny one.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely is dangerous. If you take it, then knight e5, queen f3 ideas is looming. But here it's sort of definitely have a position totally out of control for both players. And you seem to already have wanting to take risk with the way you played. So I think it's in the mood of the game.
Fair. Yeah, this move I gotta say, I would have this move would have to be prepped for me to play it, basically.
Well, I don't think you have to. Well, I think that would be sad if it has to be prepped for you to play it, because you're also winning a pawn. You can always play queen d5 in a long castle. You're not going to get checkmated. The computer says it's equal, which is sort of a ridiculous statement. It just means that black also has some problems getting things out. Because, that sense of danger is sort of odd if we compare with this position here.
Right.
There's only one thing that can be dangerous for you here, and that's white pushing e5, e6 and knight e5. I'm sure you calculated, you saw it coming, and you sort of thought you can deal with it. I would be much more afraid of the knight coming to e5 than having to play f6. This is maybe experience. I'm an old dog. I think here knight e6 was much more practical. And then it turns out there's some computer things that like both players sort of missed. But even here, like you have to put your bishop on g8. There must be some sort of discomfort.
No, I was basically provoking my opponent into this because I didn't think white had enough originally. My intention, I don't think, was bishop g8. I think I wanted knight d8 originally, but then I rejected it.
Different move, same story.
Yeah.
It's there's let's talk about this very basic thing a little bit later. But here, just to sort of give the reader an insight, this is very much spacebar variation. Mm-hmm. But there is, if white puts the knight in there, you can't really get out from the back rank. If you take this, bishop b2 comes and you're in deep trouble. You have to go things here, and both queen f5 and b5 followed by queen f5 is dangerous. The idea behind b5 in this position here, this pawn sacrifice, is if you take it and queen f5, black has to play rook h6 and white can take this pawn, and it's very unpleasant. But f6 now, there's knight g6 and you can take on b5 with check. Otherwise, if you play knight g6, there's bishop h7 and you get pinned and lose the knight, but now you can take with check. So that was sort of the idea of throwing in b5 here. But just the sort of, I understand that like this variation. Oh, I couldn't possibly see that. Well, maybe I could play like that with white on a good day, a very good day. I think I could. Could I predict it several moves in advance? No, but I wouldn't put my pieces like this.
Yeah.
Because something like this is always available when you put your pieces like this.
Right.
There's sort of we talked very much about positional play in this camp, and part of my sort of my spiel is that there's a lot of decisions you can make where they are not based on calculation. They're based on, when you put your pieces like this, moments where you can calculate arise and things are wrong. So your opponent, he did not see this option. You probably predicted this move coming also, and here you get some moves. And again, here we are. So at some points in the camp, I was talking about, and sorry to advertise the camp again, I was talking about how when I have worked with very, very strong players, grandmasters of, let's say, maybe even inside top 100, they come to me for advice and maybe attempts just to have something to work on and have something to go away with, some new ideas about how to look at their own games. I always end with some basic things. And when I say basic things, it's like I showed some games from Abdusattorov where he was weakening his position almost unprovoked. Or let's say with very small provocation came huge weaknesses. And it didn't really work for him. And I think I showed that in more in the other group than I showed in the one you were in. And there is sort of developing this feeling that long-term matters, doing things in the right order matters, is something I'm a very strong advocate for. So here, for example, I feel in many ways here, you don't have this sense of danger at all. That when you're in the back rank like this and everything is in disarray, something bad is likely to happen. I think you should sort of go through more of your games and see, do I have a lack of sense of danger? Well, so that's the one thing. The other point, and then you can come with a long defense, hopefully. The other thing is here, there's not this strong urgency that I must at all costs get pieces out.
Yes.
And that's like exactly in this position, that's the main one, but the whole thing is part of there's no sense of danger, or the lacking sense of danger.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you're right on the sense of danger part, and I also just tend to miss my opponent's resources quite a bit. I'm working on it. I've started asking myself, like, what's the opponent's idea? Almost all the time. For this moment, I had two options here: Bishop G7, Knight D4.
Yeah. And
I didn't really like either of them because Knight D4, I saw that White can go Queen G4. And then I can't take on C2 because Queen A4 check. But on Bishop G7, I also didn't like this. I think I was thinking White just goes back to maybe Knight G4.
Then you can play Knight D4.
And yeah.
Then he must go back, no?
For some reason, there was something I was not a fan of.
I'm not a fan of your position in general here. Even though it's actually fully playable, it's sort of put together. It looks a bit like you're in the wrong, or maybe right, depending on point of view, tournament in Grenke here. There's a bit of freestyle look to this position. Right. Only the black side, though. I
was very jealous of the freestyle people. And I forget exactly, because it was a while ago, maybe Bishop G7, Knight C4. Basically, I didn't like it in either case. And I kind of got the sense on Knight D4, White's going Queen D1.
It's I think it's a bad habit to play for hope.
Yes.
If it's not reliable, it's not. But okay, it's. I'm just giving my point of view, and I didn't play the games. Let me see if I had any other great moments to this game. I wanted to.
Well, maybe we should explain for the
I think we cannot go through everything that happened, but
No, just for the chat, just that moment
you did mention
knight
Queen
d4
G4. You did mention Queen G4.
Right.
So
Right.
knight D4 is placed, and then Queen G4, and you cannot take because of the check out on A4, and then it's very hard to get the pieces out here in a reasonable way. The real killer point is this one here.
Right. So bishop f4 I definitely missed.
That's quite unpleasant also.
And yeah, so I had some ideas, but yeah, essentially it was a big risk to do this.
And it's just sense of danger, I'm thinking, is part of it. So the thing is, you can always say, I didn't see this, I didn't see this, I didn't see this. But if you constantly bring you in positions where you had to see things, then it's like, I don't really sympathize. Mm-hmm. Because then you're relying on calculation instead of relying on putting your pieces on good squares. Mm-hmm. And this sort of calculation is good, but it shouldn't be the basis of your developing your pieces. Just find good squares and put them there. Here there was a tactic. I just thought this was very, very beautiful, and it's not really important for anything I want to say, but I thought it was very nice. So if anybody wants to stop and try to solve itself, it's very, very, very hard tactic because... okay, so I'm going to go here. So knight d4 works. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it looks like it does not work is after you go here and here, if you play knight takes c3, then queen f5 wins.
Right.
But the knight is fantastically placed here. This is really, really high-level stuff. Like this kind of thing, I think we talked about it a few times also. It's like some things are just very high-level stuff, and you see it and you understand it, but you didn't have a chance to maybe discover it. But I wanted to talk about this sort of endgame that arises here. Mm-hmm. Because here, and here I was just going to talk in general terms, because here you were lost, like you didn't know what you were doing.
I mean, yes and no. I guess the situation was my opponent was just playing on the increments, and I had a bit of time left. So I was really just trying to take it as slow as possible.
No, you weren't. I'm like, okay,
Well, except for one moment later on.
No. Sorry. I entirely disagree. Yeah. So you can analyze it and say at some point white could play better and black could play better and so on. But here I'm talking about what is the characteristics of this position. So first of all, this position here is a technically winning position. Mm-hmm. This you don't need a computer to tell you. You knew this. The second thing about this technically winning position is white can hardly move.
Right.
Okay. So here you run around with the queen trying to all kind of things. Well, what you really should do is you should try to improve your position to the maximum, slowly and with control. And you should definitely think a lot about how can there ever be counterplay. Mm-hmm. And at some point, there was this moment for counterplay. There was versions of it. And it arises because you didn't do simple stuff like, okay, here I spacebar, so the computer gives rook c8 first. But essentially, at some point, you need to play h5. I think here there's some threat of queen c2, knight a3, queen a4 with counterplay. That could have happened a few times in the game, and he didn't see it, you didn't see it.
Right.
Is my guess. But the other time is also you have a weak pawn on g4 and h6, and they would play much better together if your black pawn is on h5. Later on, if he plays h6, h5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then your pawn can get fixed on h6, but your g4 can also get cut. G4 pawn can get cut off, and there's a g6 square. Mm-hmm. And this is not like something that you can see technically later. You can see it in this position. So what I would do with black here, I would play h5, and then I would maybe consider if my king was better placed on b7. Okay. This is the kind of thought process I would have. I would look for anything white can do to possibly get out of the situation. Can he activate the queen? Queen c2, queen a4. Okay, in that case, you can find rook c8. It is possible to play this position much better. Rook c8 is not such an easy move to find. But even, let's say you play here, and okay, it's better to go back, but okay, let's say here and here. And here, again, so here he had queen c2, and it was sort of some these wild tactics, but I think this was really, there's just no feeling of avoiding this h4, h5. And this is the whole idea that when you talk about technique being the job of taking a technically winning position to conversion, then preventing counterplay is your number one priority. And this, of course, is my experience with the Russian school of chess,
right.
Mark and Arthur, that's the origin of that observation. And this is what, like, okay, there's a moment you can say, but no, your thought process all the way through doesn't include this. And this is the kind of things that computers cannot teach you. Mm-hmm. And this is why I'm saying, like, no, the whole thing was not very good, because at some point it turned out that here there was counterplay with h5. So h5 is the idea, and then the line from a computer, again, you have to find this resource, and then come here, and then here, and then you come, all kind of weird stuff start happening, and the rooks can transfer, and you have lost control without putting any evaluation on it. Right. During a game, you just think, like, oh, what's happening? I have no idea.
Right.
Which loss of control is quite a serious problem when it comes to technique.
Yeah.
So
honestly,
that's sort of my view on this game mainly.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right on the paying more attention to the counterplay. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I look for it and I just don't see it. Like, I'm looking for the opponent's idea, like, what can he do to me? In this position, I definitely felt like he can't do anything, like he can't move. So I just didn't see any chances. I also just get nervous, like, when I know I'm technically winning. Because I know it's like, okay, now the position's winning. If I just play well, I'll win it. And then that irks me, and then I start kind of second guessing everything.
Yeah. Nerves is. I'm not a professional psychiatrist, so we'll maybe.
We can come back to that one.
we can have a chat on or off camera later.
Sure.
I think there was some concrete moments later in the game. People want to look at it here. There was something with a very nice little tactic, but here I think it's just increment, right?
Yes.
So here there was just a very, very nice little tactic, which is not easy at all. Nobody would see it on increment. Where this move is such a great tempo win. With 5 minutes on the clock, I find this. And I find it most times. Some days I'm not in good shape here, but here the idea is now I want to play queen e1 and queen e4 check. And if you go here, then I come in with a knight. Mm-hmm. And with queen e1, I'm winning. And if you're not... if you otherwise, I'm gonna get queen e4 check in some way. I think if king h2, I have knight f1. I think I can exchange bishops and I'm totally winning again.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
It's just sort of a tactic. I'm not so interested in that.
I'm surprised you didn't hate me for taking the second pawn, because I thought that was my worst move of the game. I thought here there was no reason I could run my a pawn to a3. Like, he's just not. I can play h5. He's not moving at all.
Yeah, but I sort of didn't want to go down on every move in the endgame.
Okay, fair enough.
I would say the main problem for me in this endgame was that you didn't consolidate, and it's more of a thinking thing.
Okay.
It's also winning after you take the pawn, and it does exchange a lot of pieces. Your king's very safe. You can sort of... The fact that you lost control later is not necessarily the fault of this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's I did point out h5 was better, but again, you're not keeping control.
Yeah.
It's just made that's now not allowing me to go to next game.
Okay.
Okay, so in this game here you were white, and this is probably one of the worst games of your life.
Yes.
It's
round 2.
Yeah, I had this game. I played in Danish league like a month ago, and I'd eaten some really white bread. Like I stayed with a friend. He made me this nice breakfast, and there was these buns, and they were very tasty because of like sometimes bread and cake have there's a crossover. Without icing, it's bread. Yeah. And I just totally fogged out during the game, and then I played like almost perfect game. Like last move brought me off 100% with lichess because I only won the queen. And okay, yeah, but you might as well have played like this. So there's sort of partly I'm wanting to ask, what's wrong? Who died on this day? But
no, this was absolutely horrible game.
No excuses or what?
I have plenty of excuses. It's just
not near.
Unfortunately,
not death in
they don't show
family.
up in the PGN.
They don't.
You just got
okay, so here, 95 is not a great move.
Right.
But it's sort of black can get this f6 and knight c6 and e5 and so on for free. But okay, it's not so important. Here, f6, knight f3, d4, and then knight c6 and e5. Mm-hmm. Give black a really good game. But actually, this is the moment I sort of thought of. We talked about this in the camp, about tension.
Yes.
So the basic principle here is when two pieces can be exchanged like this, just for everyone else. If I take on d7, then your queen comes forward. It helps black. And I'm releasing tension. I'm spending time on it. But if I play d4, then if black takes, then I get the pawn up in 5th rank and control some squares and so on. So this was sort of quite horrific, and queen b3 wasn't very good either. And basically here the opening was not a great success. Okay, then there's a lot of very concrete things here. But I think the sort of the really main instructive point comes here. Like here, for reasons which I don't know if you asked your opponent about or if you just ran out crying after the game, as we shall see, would be absolutely justified. It's very hard to explain giving up bishop for knight here, simply so the white doesn't get knight c3 with tempo in a moment.
Right.
So here, you would in 100 years never find me not exchanging queens, and I'm quite an attacking player.
Right. Yeah, it's such an interesting moment.
For me, it's a very simple logic here. If I exchange queens, I'm a little ahead in development. I have this strong bishop. I have 2 bishops. I have an extra center pawn, a little bit. But I have a nice fluid structure.
Right.
I definitely have an advantage.
Yes.
I'm playing a lower rated player, 200 points difference. And already he played this stupid move. I don't want complications. I want my point and quickly back for dinner.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And okay, so this is one thing, but it's not like it's not horrific. I wouldn't play like this, but okay, this is just a sort of thing. But here, this is like I was talking about earlier, that there are things that you can do, you can argue for, and sometimes they're not bad and so on. But this, for me, it's just a matter of simple chess culture. If you want to attack, that's fine. You play for attack. It's a different priority in this game here, but your position is still good. I can sort of... We're friends. You're not my student. I can sort of live with it. I feel less involved. But you don't finish your development. I as a friend, I have to do an intervention here.
Right.
And it's not about the fact that that at some point it's lost. It's about you just don't get your king to safety. And still here, it's still fine. But I think you sort of made decisions with your pieces that you would like to postpone until your opponent put the pieces out. But here, of course, this is just, you blundered entirely.
I just completely missed Queen B6. Yeah.
But again, it's like, yes, it's a blunder and it makes things worse. But you don't have this inner urge to get your development done first. You're just better off if you get your development done first. So often. And when you blunder, then you blunder into a slightly worse position.
I mean, the truth is I'm not a natural attacking player.
But this is not about attack. This is about getting your pieces out. This is things you teach to beginners in St. Louis. I'm sorry.
Right. No, but it's just like my first instinct was always I would just go for the end game. Then when the kid castles queenside, with I get this unopposed bishop on g2. I don't know. I just kind of lost my mind. I was just like, what is he doing? I thought the end game's good. I thought the middle game's better. And so I was kind of just I guess I thought I had to do this, essentially.
You know what's generally better? Playing something that's easy.
Yeah.
So there's a topic I talked about only a few times in the camp, but I call it overthinking. So I had this experience at some point when I was still trying to become a grandmaster. I had norms, but I didn't have rating. And I had some games where I was thinking, I made a decision, and then kept thinking, and then I changed my mind.
Right.
And it was just bad.
Yeah.
And it was not because, if I don't think, then I play better. No, because there was no reason to think. I had thought, and I had made up my mind. And I should just play what I believe is the right move for the position without stupid thoughts like, if it becomes a draw, then, it's embarrassing for the organizer who invited me, and really low quality thought process at the age of 33, no less. Let's get rid of this quickly, shall we? This game I might not have had any comments to. They were really meaningful. There was something in the endgame. Yeah, there was just one point in the endgame. There was a lot of things happen in a long game here, and I did look at everything. And here, I wanted to ask you why you didn't simply exchange. It looks so easy.
I couldn't calculate it all the way through.
I thought that was the case, but I'm not sure there's anything to calculate.
And basically, I was afraid after rook d1 that white starts running the a pawn. I gotta move my knight over there. Maybe my king. If my king runs, then the d pawn starts running. And
did you see a variation where it worked for white?
I think so.
I find it hard to believe. Maybe it's more for me. It just looks so clean cut. It's just very hard for me to believe that this was going to be close in any way. But okay, maybe.
Okay, I had a minute. Definitely didn't have.
No,
a lot
but
of time.
This is also a thing here, because if you're trying to calculate long lines with a minute, then it goes entirely wrong, and there's some mistakes from both sides, and actually they're very entertaining. But for me here, it's like all counterplay for white comes in this structure where you have these connected, distant passed pawns. Your knight is very well placed. It comes from the rook, the white rook. I don't see why it wouldn't be coming from the rook. And without rooks, it just looks like it should be be fairly simple. Mm-hmm. I would probably exchange this without calculating any variations at all.
Looking at it now,
but
I don't disagree
again
with
here,
you.
just in this is what I see, and I sort of find it very hard to unsee it. But I should also say that, of course, I know it wins because I analyzed the game. So for me, it was sort of strange a little bit, but we can try to see if we can recreate your variation here. So these moves are very, and then A5, and then here
A6,
and we'll go and take this pawn.
So yeah, D6 check.
Okay, we'll go and take this pawn.
And then let's say
I'm just taking the pawns.
No, I know. I think I'm just like. I mean, at this point, I'm not. Yeah, calculating deeper than this, basically. And I think.
Yeah. So the way
I saw some ghost.
The way I'm thinking here is okay. The king will take the a pawn. The white king cannot easily be active.
Right.
If it ever goes to d2, I have a check on c4. I go to d6, and it's everyone. But the knight is there. And the bishop cannot help because it has to look after this pawn.
Yeah.
But this is, of course, not calculation what I'm doing. I'm sort of putting it into an individual element. Where would counterplay come from? And I agree with you, like, the running a pawn is the thing I would see, but I just thought I'd go and take it.
Yeah. No, I think this was my instinct as well. And then I think I saw this a pawn, and I'm like, you know, I just psyched myself out. I was like, oh, that's counterplay. Let me play rook e4. I keep the initiative or whatever.
Well, you did win, but it was quite entertaining. So you played rook e4.
Not a good call. Yeah.
And here bishop f1 is best so that white can sure to not exchange. And I'm not even sure what you should play here. Maybe it's rook h4 from memory.
Well, here I can just go back rook d4.
You can roll rook d4, simply just repeat. Okay, that's why I didn't put anything in. If king c3, knight takes c4, right. So yeah, there's nothing there. Okay. So here, because this felt like the kind of thing that is like a calculation mistake where you're trying to solve everything with brute force calculation. And here, let's just flip this for a moment. Here, white to play and draw. Surprisingly, which I guess... Did you see it when it arrived? No, it was just only when you came home.
No time. Yeah, exactly.
So here the game concluded here, and resigns.
Yeah.
But if we go back to this point, then white had a little surprising extra move here.
Right. And
here now you actually cannot do anything. Like you'll make a draw, of course, but it was sort of a little bit of a strange thing. Yeah, here I think this might be the only thing I have for this game, really. Here you're white again with a play around 2200, and my main point was you missed the c4 again, or I didn't understand this at all.
No, I thought I'm following Vidit Caruana, where it was like bishop f4, c4, knight c3, and then Vidit got a nice position, and I don't have any knowledge on on this line, other than that.
Like, so something I should just explain to everyone is I don't have any openings at all, and sometimes there are amazing things that has very deep concepts that I don't understand, and this could be it. But I think I would play queen e2, and then you can play knight c3, bishop f4, and Vidit Caruana him all you want.
Right.
But I think here I would not allow this. For me, it's like black's only problem is it's not just a double pawn, it's on c6. If it was on c7, we had a Roux-Lopez kind of structure. Black could play b6, the pawns could work together, but it is so bad at working together in Rosalimo. But here you just get rid of it. Even there was in the previous game at one point where you could play c4 and just give it away, and the engine says it's fine. Now I wouldn't do it, probably. unless it was very, very necessary. But here, where you can just exchange it, I would absolutely do it.
Sure.
Every time. And then, okay, later on you were worse at some point, but I don't think it was very important.
Mm-hmm.
Probably both of you were mentally at a draw. The next game, you're black. I'm not sure I have any. I analyzed, but it felt like there was a lot of tactics. I wouldn't have sacrificed the exchange as you did, but. And then there was a nice game for you. Now we're around 6 at this point. A very nice game, which you won a very nice game. And
Thanks.
your opponent made like one real mistake, and then you beat him. And this is almost your strongest opponent so far, I think.
Yeah, that's.
So that was the easiest game.
Also, the very elderly opponent. So definitely not
Very,
the toughest.
very elderly opponent.
Yeah.
Okay. Next game here, you are white against a grandmaster, Vitaly Kunin. Represents Germany, and somehow, okay, if I was black I would play knight g4, but somehow queen b6 is playable here, which just looks so weird. And you actually got an advantage, and here again for me it's like, what does white want? Queen d2 long castling. Do you know where the bishop belongs? No. Why do you play bishop e2? It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like it's a very strange move. No idea where this bishop belongs. It's just a wasted move.
Yes.
You play like when you play for attack, when you play for these kind of things, you're playing a race. It's time. It's dynamics, and like some of my favorite players are not very dynamic. Boris Gelfand doesn't like it when I say he's not very dynamic, but I don't think he's a very dynamic player. But he's great at other things. Lerko is one of my favorite players, and he's very not dynamic, and better at English than me for sure. The language, not the opening, also the opening, but that's a different matter.
Queen d2, I think I just didn't like ed4 and knight e5.
Yeah, and then you can play bishop e2 if you want.
Right.
And if you're really lucky, you will take your pawn on g4 as well. You mate him in 15 moves.
But that one, I'm like, yeah, I didn't know.
You were not happy to give up that pawn, or what?
Yeah, I really wasn't sure. Yeah.
Well, don't play like this. Don't play rook g1 and g4.
Well, I thought that's why people play rook g1 first, because they don't want to give, because I could go g4.
Yeah.
rook g1.
No, but don't. No. Here, if you don't want to give up material, I don't know, play bishop e2 or g3 or
Sure.
some other.
Yeah.
There's many ways of playing chess on, but rook g1 is playing for a fight. Actually,
Yes.
do you know the story of the g4 line?
No.
So Vallejo, Shirov, and Romero Holmes, three Spanish GMs. Shirov being Spanish at the time, and I think also currently, but sort of on and off, are sitting analyzing. Romero Holmes has played rook g1 against the Philidor. And Vallejo is like, what is that move? That is the most nonsense move I've ever seen. And Alfonso, he says, well, I wanted to play g4. If you want to play g4, just play g4. Let him take the pawn. And Shirov just sits there, says nothing. And next time he plays the Philidor, he play g4. And everyone's like, oh, you're so inventive. Okay, and so there's sort of like, here, bishop e2, I didn't like this very much.
That's fair.
And this is a sense of attack and if you don't feel in a hurry when you're attacking, don't play attacking positions. If you can't get this feeling of being in a hurry, of everything having to be urgency. So
I guess I wanna play attacking chess.
So if you want to play attacking chess, here is the question ask of all the kids. What would the Incredible Hulk do?
Queen d2. Right.
He doesn't care about material things. So if you remember, there's this scene in the first Avengers movie where they meet all at the street level in New York, and Captain America is giving everyone instructions. you go to 57th Street or whatever, and you take this, and you go there and get the scepter, and so on and so on. And Hulk, smash. And that is the thing about Hulk. Like, Hulk is never. He's always characteristic, sort of as totally mindless, but he's not. I have never seen him beat up a baby or an old woman. Yeah, you're someone else. You might get slammed, yeah, whatever. But he's not totally without any control. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's he's though fairly out of control, right? So Queen D2, ED4, Knight D4, Knight E5. I don't know, maybe F4, F4, Knight takes G4, castle. And just say, yeah, we're going to mate you in 15 moves like Tal would have done.
Right.
It's very hard for black to castle long, but it's even harder not to. I'm not sure what the best is. We could turn on the engine, but let's move on to another moment here. Mm-hmm. Again, it's a feeling of urgency if you play dynamics. So we get. Let's just see how it comes here. Actually, this move is quite nice. Here you have Knight B3 and Queen takes D4, and your pieces harmonize well. And you didn't play like that. Okay, this is not like it's bad or anything, but this moment here, I felt quite. What's the technical word? Confused. Mm-hmm. Why don't you play H4? I don't get it. Why not? H4 and G5. It's everything you have put your pieces to do is to play H4, G5. See, this is another of my view of my philosophy about chess is you put the pieces out in a certain way, and then there's a logical way of I've set myself up to play like this or that, and then you play like this or that. You have already made the choice. Here you made the choice of playing H4, G5 and G6 maybe or something else and just go for it. And again, we're back to if you're playing dynamically, you cannot ask for permission.
Right.
It's do you play A3 or something?
Yes.
Yeah, this is quite. So here, and then okay, here you can play G5. If he takes on C3, you take back with the knight. Otherwise, what? Knight G8 or something? This is gonna be very uncomfortable choices. We can imagine take on C3, bishop takes, and then you're about to put knight on C4 and take on D6. And black still here. This is a basis of attack in place on the backline. Yeah, no, I'm pointing into the open air. The back rank is totally discoordinated. There's nowhere to go. G5 is going to be open. Do you want to go there? No. Queenside, well, it's also torn apart. And it's going to be a very dangerous game. Later on, there was all kind of really interesting moments.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of trying to stick to basics here.
I don't know how I think I missed H4 because it's not like I was calculating H4, B4, G5. Somehow I just didn't see the idea at this moment. I also did not see my opponent's response to A3, to be fair. So I kind of thought I had time.
But okay, yeah. But for sure, H4, G5 is sort of your general plan.
Yeah.
So it's like not seeing it as you're a good player, I sort of find it hard to follow, and I say this with no disrespect at all. I had a game where, again, this is a game where I was totally brain fog. I saw a move, and then I saw there was temporary piece sacrifice, and maybe it worked, maybe it doesn't. And then I played another move, or then I actually blundered mate in 1. Only if I played what I had planned, it would allow mate in 1 and lose a rook. But then I could go back to the thing I'd seen before, and I was thinking for 5 minutes I didn't get it, but or I thought there was something wrong with it or something, but not seeing h4, it makes no real sense to me.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to
No,
me.
it doesn't make sense to you either. It's like here, like everyone just understand this here. I'm not having a go at Kostya. It's like there's sometimes we have these kind of experiences of this doesn't connect. It doesn't connect. I don't understand what the thought process would be here. I just don't get it, and I'll not do any metaphors here, and because I'm worse at metaphors than Sarah Lakdawala. Okay, here, yeah, this was a sort of a simple moment. This is again just a feeling for pieces, for piece activity here, where it's like, again, I'm sure you saw something or something, but to not play Rook F8 and Bishop F6 here to eliminate the pressure and the opponent's best piece is for me very, very strange.
Yeah, so this moment,
it's probably something you were afraid maybe of losing the d6 pawns later or something like this. But
I don't think I considered Rook F8 here. Well, a few moves ago, White had the chance to make a draw. She plays on, so I was very happy to get this position where I'm up the exchange. 'Cause now I'm better. And I think I played Bishop F8 pretty quickly, just with the thought like, oh, let's remove counterplay, let's just defend G7, get the Rook to E8, get the Queen out. Like, so I didn't look for hero moves like Rook F8. Not that that's like super hard to find, but in my mind, I thought Bishop F8, I'm playing simple chess, and it didn't go farther than that.
yeah, I was. Yeah, so okay, fine. You played a bit too fast. That's all.
Yeah.
But it's like it. So there is something I said it a number of times at camp also, and I think it's really good advice. Is always try to have two ideas in every move. And in some positions where you know they're very important, want to have more moves. So here, should I play Bishop F8? Let me look. Try to find something else. Just look at the pieces. Well, they're very much packed in the corner. Can I play Rook E8? Queen F7? No, I'm not doing that. Whatever the thought process is, and then Rook F8, Bishop F6. Yeah, no, and it's not calculation really. Like it's, maybe you can sort of consider if the D6 pawn is going to get weak, but unless White is threatening you directly with mate, you can play Rook D8 first, so, or Queen C7 or something. It's yeah, I think when you see it, it's not so difficult. But maybe you get too locked out with the first thing you see, and you're not thinking enough about options.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you did send 30 games, and I cowardly only analyzed 9 because I was afraid it would cost me all my time.
Yeah,
I'm not sure the last game there was nothing. I suppose that was your best game, but there was some moments where you could have played differently. But okay, chess is always like that.
Yeah. So I don't get into time pressure very often. I would say that's one of my few strengths, but it's because sometimes I play too fast.
Yeah, I think you can play fast by not going unnecessarily deep, which is why the normal reason why people get into time trouble is they think for too long over too small things often, or just sort of in other way get wrapped up in their own thoughts and forget everything. It's happened to all of us, and to some it happens frequently, and to some it happens all the time, and I think often if you sort of feel you're doing reasonably well, you make a lot of decisions. But I think there's a big difference between spending 5 minutes on every decision, which brings you into time trouble, and spending 30 seconds. 5 minutes on every decision is too much. 30 seconds, a lot of the time is too little. You sort of have to just have a look for options to see, is there anything else here I want to play? This I see immediately, but I find myself, because I train myself a lot in seeing options, not necessarily great at calculating very deeply, but I see options. I sort of have a critical mind to what is most important here. Do I need to get the pieces out? Should I be worried about structural things? Is there anything I have to be worried about with squares or whatever? I play fairly fast, but I always spend time on looking for options. And then with the idea of when I see 3-4 options, without thinking much about them, without calculating or going deep, I realize that this is the one I want to go with. This is how I believe the position should be played. And that's, in many situations, fine. At least for my level of sort of normal grandmaster, which would be okay for you also at this point. You can always go for more later.
So I got to find that Goldilocks zone of like not too fast, not too slow. Okay, so yeah, I gotta ask you. So, what should I do to improve?
So the main thing I saw here. Okay, we have the whole discussion about how many options do you actually see during a game. Where next time you have played a tournament, and you go back after the game, reflect on it. So generally, there's and to have this sort of from cognitive psychology, there's like a 3-step process to improving things. There's realizing afterwards that you did something bad. Then there's realizing while you're doing it. And then there's realizing it in advance, so you stop yourself from doing it. So there's like this improvement. This for so many things in chess. Like, why do I keep making the same mistakes? Well, you're not realizing they're mistakes until afterwards. And you can then sort of think about why that is. Then we have, I don't realize the mistakes at all because I don't understand the nature of the mistakes. And this is sort of what I would say in these games here. You don't respect the basics.
Okay.
It's you try to do everything in sort of a little bit of constructed or imaginative kind of creative way, where if you get your pieces out, put them on good squares, make the simple decisions that give you good chances. And then at some point, when you have to calculate, you calculate. Then you can play really good games. But I think if we look at the games here where it goes wrong for you, if we look at how the pieces were placed, this is sort of the main factor. All the tactics came from not respecting the basics, maybe. And so I wrote this book, Thinking Inside the Box, which I know you read at some point, and I think you liked
multiple times.
Yeah, and
great book.
So the idea of the book was I would try to put every idea I had at the moment into the book, and that sort of goes many places, and a lot of original ideas, hopefully. But also it never really develops ideas fully, because then each chapter would have been a book or a trilogy or something like that. But the idea of thinking inside the box, besides that I ripped it off from a muesli commercial, the idea of thinking inside the box is that it's sort of the opposite of the whole exceptions thinking. So I don't really like the word rules, because rules, you must do it as verboten, muss, kind of thing. So I talk about concepts and ideas more, but the whole point is this constantly being interested in being exceptional and original. It's like, you have 80% of young girls rebels, right? And they all look the same to some extent in modern society. In many countries, different cultures have this sort of the same thing, and a lot of people are rebels, and they're all still sort of the same. Where
basic.
Yeah, they're sort of all the same way. There's this attraction to trying to be original and something. And what the way before original used to just mean like in the ancient times, but before it became to mean in the 1750s, it came to mean new ideas. it was always based on you know everything, and then you go beyond it. Sort of around the time when the word original was coined, there was Alexander Pope. He wrote this great poem where I cannot quote it as he wrote it in 18th century English, but basically, I'm here giving ideas that have been often construed, but never so well said. There's this beautiful argument, and there's a tendency of some of the games here. You're not being original. You're just making, sorry for saying it, shit up. Like you're just messing around rather than having a basic idea of this is how chess works. And this gives me the chance in this situation to do something very interesting strategically or dynamically or something, and I get a really interesting games. And instead sometimes you play these really horrible games. And I think if you just played simpler moves and didn't try to solve everything with originality and calculation, you'd be better off quite quickly.
I'll think about that. Yeah, I'll definitely.
It's a point of view.
I'll mull that over.
I was not invited to sit and nod.
No, absolutely. I mean, I very much appreciate your feedback. It's not like my chess has been going in the right direction the last couple of years. So clearly, like something has been going wrong. You know, my rating has gone down. So obviously, like something needs to change. If I was playing well, I wouldn't be here asking for advice.
Well, we did invite you and gave you free hotel. You know, you have to sort of show some sort of appreciation. So who knows?
Yeah. I don't know, but this says this has been very helpful. Hopefully, people enjoyed it as well. You've given me a lot to think about.
So I just want to say this thing. So we never met in person before this camp.
Right.
We did some Zoom things together and some podcasts and actually quite a few times. I think like four or five times. Yeah, and we have David as a good mutual friend. But no, we sort of, our paths never crossed in person. And another mutual friend, David Aagaard, he wrote to me and said, "I cannot believe you never met Kostya before."
He wrote to me too.
Yeah. He said he's such a nice guy. I don't know what he said to me, like be careful of this shifty guy or something. Uh-huh. But I actually have a present to you here. Oh. So I recently, entirely by chance, came into possession of a magazine, and so I'm not really. I haven't taken control of it. I own it and make sure it continues to be published. And if there's any profit, it will go in my direction. But I don't think there is. Mm-hmm. I don't really fully understand the account yet. But what it does have is a cover story about Hikaru Nakamura, everyone's favorite player and streamer, almost. You're my favorite streamer, obviously. And you wrote this.
I wrote the cover story,
and somehow, by accident, I ended up with a pile of magazines.
Thank you so much.
Of course, everyone should subscribe to Chess Dojo, and if you already do that, then maybe you have time for subscribing to Noon Chess Magazine as well, where you can get more of Kostya.
This is absolutely the greatest chess magazine, not just because they're willing to publish me, but because they have like real annotations from the top players. And so I remember reading like games from Waikanze and all these like super tournaments and like Giri's annotations and other people, and it's like great stuff. And also, they just have great articles from all kinds of people. But thank you. I've got 7 copies.
Yeah.
Nice.
So wherever we go next, you can give some signed copies to friends.
I appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you, Jakob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys.